All right, this is section 1.3, guys. We're going to talk about lines. All right, you have been talking about lines, slope, all that good stuff for probably, I don't know, since 8th grade. These are things that you need to know. You have to know how to find slope. You have to know the point slope formula. You have to know y equals mx plus b. You have to know parallel perpendicular lines. So we're going to go through all that today. We're going to do a lot of examples, just kind of remind ourselves about things. But the first thing I want to bring to your attention is slope. All right, this is our slope formula. You guys are familiar with this. I know you've seen it before. It's rise over run. In distance and midpoint, the order that we put the points in didn't matter, just as long as we kept our x's together and our y's together. In slope, it's very important that y's are on top, x's are on the bottom. And whatever point or whatever coordinate you start with, whatever x or y coordinate you start with in the numerator, that's the one you have to start with in the denominator. So make sure you guys are aware of that and paying attention when we go to do some examples here. You are already aware, you guys are familiar, we read graphs from left to right. So a positive slope is going to go upwards. A negative slope goes downwards. You can kind of think of it like the letter N in the word negative. Look, this slopes downwards, however you need to, but you guys need to know direction. Positive slope is going up, a negative slope is going down. Zero and no slope, or undefined is what I'd rather call it. Undefined. You guys always get confused with. So let's talk about this for a second. If I follow this line right here, what axis is this horizontal line going through?
Miss Meadows, are you screen sharing?
Oh, am I not? When I talk about horizontal lines, the horizontal line goes through what axis? What axis is this running through?
The Y.
It's running through the y. When you have a horizontal line, your slope is always going to be 0 because it doesn't go up or down any, it just stays constant. And your equation of your line is y equals a number. A lot of times we get that confused because the y-axis goes up and down, but when you're talking about a line that goes through the y-axis, it's a horizontal line. So just the opposite when I talk about a vertical line. Okay, a vertical line goes up and down. The slope is going to be undefined. It's when you have 0 in the denominator. But look, guys, what axis does a vertical line go through?
X.
So this is going to be x equals a number. You've got to get that in your mind. That's something that we get confused with all the time. I'm not really sure why, but you guys have to get that in your mind, okay? All right, so if they give me 2 points and they say, what is the slope of a line that passes through these 2 points? Again, you guys can all do this however you want to. I have a certain way. I like to always write 1 point on top of the other. So I have 2, 1 and 8, 5. And I label, this is my x, this is my y. It's so easy to just look and grab the wrong point because you're looking at the wrong coordinate. Like, I like to be organized when I do this. So if I'm finding the slope, it's y2 minus y1. I'm going to say 5 minus 1. Since I started with 5 in my y's, what number do I have to start with in my x's?
8. 8.
You could have started with 1 minus 5. And if you did that, that would have been fine. But then you would have had to do on the bottom 2 minus 8. So just make sure whatever you start with in the y's, you have to start with that same point with the x. So when I simplify this, 5 minus 1 is 4. 8 minus 2 is 6. And we always simplify, but we leave it as a fraction, not a mixed number. So my slope here is 2 over 3. That means I go up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3. Right? You guys are familiar with that, yes? Talk to me, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. All right. The first question, I believe, on WebAssign has to do, they ask you about point slope form. Okay. We don't use point slope form a lot. We use y equals mx plus b, which is slope intercept, which we'll talk about in a second. But in point slope form, they will give you a point and a slope, right? And you just plug it in here. You plug the y part of the point they give you here, the x part here, and the slope right there. And then you just leave it. If they want it in y-intercept or y equals mx plus b, then you would manipulate it around for it to be y equals. But if they say, here's a point, like just say, I don't know, 7, -3 with a slope of 4/3. If you were to write the equation in point slope form, this is my x, this is my y, I would say y minus y1, which is -3, equals m, which is 4/3, times x minus whatever the x is they gave me, 7. And then you would simplify that because 2 negatives gives you a positive. So your answer would be y plus 3 equals 4/3 x minus 7. I just made that example up. But when they want it in point slope form, that's all you have to do. You can go through and solve for y, and then it would put it into y equals mx plus b. But if they ask you for point slope form, leave it in point slope form. Okay, find an equation of the line in point slope form through 1, -3 and the slope of 1/2. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Again, here's my x, here's my y, and here's my m. So you literally would just write y minus -3 equals -1/2 times x minus 1. Oh, my hair is in my face. And we would simplify right here because 2 negatives gives me a positive. So it'd be y plus 3 equals -1/2 times x minus 1. And that's it. That's in point slope form. That's when they give you a point and the slope. Questions on that?
You're welcome.
Next, guys, this is what we talk about all the time. You guys are super familiar with y equals mx plus b. All right, m is our slope. So we first have to find slope whenever we're going to write in slope-intercept form. And then b is our y-intercept. You guys have seen this before. We're going to just work some problems out and then talk about different kinds of lines. If they ask you for an equation of a line that is vertical or horizontal and they give you a point, okay, I told you guys, vertical lines, draw a picture so you can see it. A vertical line goes through what axis? The x. So when they give you a point and they say, what is the equation of a vertical line? It's the x part of the point they give you. A horizontal line goes through the y. So draw yourself a little picture and draw a horizontal line and say, oh yeah, it goes through the y-axis. So whatever the y part of your ordered pair is, that's the equation of that line. So here, if they say, write the equation of a vertical line through this point, 3, 5. Well, think about that. Vertical. Vertical is up and down. What axis is up and down that we go through? It would be the x. So that's why your equation is right here. X equals 3. If they ask for the equation of a horizontal line, think about that. A horizontal line is going to go this way. It's going to go through the y-axis. So that's why your equation is y equals whatever the y part is. You guys have to get that into your memory. However you did, however you've learned it before, I've heard a bunch of hoy vox and all this stuff. Whatever you guys need to do, you have to make sure that you understand the difference between a horizontal and vertical line. Questions? We okay so far? All right, this is a general equation of a line. I know this doesn't mean anything to you guys, but it's just when it's written in standard form of something x, something y, and a constant. Like if I had 4x minus 3y plus 7 equals 0. Right? That's all they're saying. You can manipulate this. You can move it around and put it into y equals mx plus b. You move these over, solve, divide by 3, that sort of thing. We're going to do it in a second. But we're going to use this kind of a standard equation to put it into slope-intercept form and then write equations of other lines. That's what we're about to do here. All right, parallel, perpendicular. I want you guys, everybody, get your pens ready. We're going to write some stuff down. Parallel lines and perpendicular. What can you tell me about parallel lines? They never what?
Touch.
They never touch. Good. Parallel lines have the same slope. So if a line is parallel to another line, their slopes will be the same. Their intercepts are different. They cross the y-axis at different places, but they have the same slope. I spelled parallel wrong. All right, when we talk about parallel lines, if you see this notation, that means parallel. Perpendicular lines meet at a 90-degree angle. And this is very important. Their slopes are opposite, reciprocal, opposite and reciprocal of each other. Opposite means one's positive, one's negative. Reciprocal means to flip. Okay, I'll write that down. One positive, one negative, and reciprocal means to flip. And the notation for perpendicular is an upside down T. All right, so when we're talking about parallel lines, perpendicular lines, let's write some examples. Oh, sorry. Let's do a couple examples just so we understand what I'm talking about here. Example 1, I'm going to say I have a slope of 2/3. Example 2, we have a slope of -1. Example 3, slope of, no, not -1, we'll do -4. -5/7. All right, if I ask you for the parallel slope of all these examples, what is the, if there was a line parallel to number 1, what would the slope for that line be? Parallel lines have what?
The same slope.
Same slope. So the parallel slope to this line would be 2/3. 2/3. The parallel slope to this would be -4 over 1. -4. The parallel slope to this would be -5/7. It's the same. It's very important for you guys to remember. If I asked you for the perpendicular slope, what are the two things that perpendicular slope are?
Opposite signs and the reciprocal.
Perfect. Opposite signs and the reciprocal. So this is a positive 2/3. I'm going to make it negative. And reciprocal means to flip. So it's going to be 3/2. Very important that you guys see that. Perpendicular slope to -4 would be positive, and I flip 4/1, it becomes 1/4. Perpendicular slope to -5/7 would be positive 7/5. It has to be both. It can't just be opposite signs, and it can't just be reciprocals of each other. It has to be opposite signs and flips. So make sure you guys are paying attention to that, okay?
For the first one, like...
All right, so let's go and do some examples. All right, I'm going to write the equation of a line that is parallel, and we're going to do a perpendicular one. We're going to do two. Parallel and perpendicular. Okay, so I'm going to use my parallel is going to be here. And my perpendicular is going to be over here. Now they're giving me a line to use. So what they want us to do is we have to find, remember, if we're in y equals mx plus b, y equals mx plus b, we need to find the slope and we need to find the y-intercept. Well, we can find the slope given the equation that they gave us. If I have 4x plus 6y plus 5 equals 0. I want to solve for y. So what would I do? How would I get y all by itself? How would I get y all by itself? Come on, guys.
Subtract 4 and 5.
Okay, I'm going to subtract the 4x and the 5 from both sides. I can do it at the same time. So I'm left with 6y equals -4x minus 5. Now what do?
Divide by 6.
Divide everything by 6. So I have y equals -4/6x minus 5/6, right? What does negative 4, 6 become? Negative 2 over 3? Yes? Okay, so my slope, guys, for this line is negative 2 over 3. So if I'm going to write a line that's parallel to that, what's the slope that I'm going to use?
Negative 2 over 3.
Perfect. Same exact slope. If I'm going to write a line that is perpendicular to this line, what's the slope that I'm going to use?
3 over 2.
Positive 3 over 2. Good. And now we use the point that they gave us. They gave us this point, 5, 2. In both cases, we're going to use the same point. Now, when I do this, I now have my slope for my slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. I have the m, I need the b. So I'm going to use what they gave me here for this point, and I'm just going to plug it in to find b. So I'm going to say, okay, 2 equals negative 2/3, what is x times 5, plus b. So I have 2 equals, you multiply numerators, so negative 10 over 3 times 1 is 3, plus b. And now we say, oh my gosh, we have fractions? Yes, welcome to high school math. You guys have fractions. You'll be all right. How do I get negative 10/3 to move to the other side?
You add it to both sides?
I'm going to add it to both sides. Thank you. So when I add 10/3 here, I'm going to add 10/3 here. So I get b equals. Now, guys, I have a whole number 2. I have to change it into thirds. This is 2 over 1, right? So a common denominator would be 3. Bottom, I say 1 times 3 is 3. So what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 3 times 2 is 6. So now I can add, and I have 6 plus 10 is 16 thirds. That's my b. So I know what my slope is, and I know what my b is. I can now write my equation of the line. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 16 over 3. Find the slope, then use the point that they give you to find the y-intercept. Now we're going to do the exact same thing over here. Exact same thing, but I'm going to use the perpendicular slope. So this is my x. This is my y. So I'm going to say 2 equals 3 over 2. Whoa. 3 over 2 times 5 over 1 plus b. So I have 2 equals 3 times 5 is 15 over 2 plus b. How do I get positive 15 over 2 to the other side? Subtract it. Good. Minus 15 over 2. Got to get a common denominator, which would be 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. What's 4 minus 15? Thank you. So negative 11 over 2. So now that I have my b and my slope, I can write my equation of my line. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 11 over 2. Questions? All right, let's do number 30 together. Number 30 says, I have the point negative 1, negative 2, and I have the point 4, 3, and they want me to write the equation of the line. So remember, our equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. So I have to find my m, which is my slope, and my y-intercept. So how do I find the slope of these 2 points? What do I do? All right, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have 3 plus 2 is 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. So my slope is 1. Now, you can use either point you want. You can use the smaller numbers. You can use the positive numbers. It doesn't matter. I always try and use the stuff that has the most positives in it. So I'm going to use this point, and I'm going to say, okay, 3 equals, my slope was 1 times 4 plus b. So 3 equals 4 plus b, subtract 4 from both sides, and my y-intercept is -1. So my slope is 1, my y-intercept is 1. If I write my equation of my line, it's y equals 1x minus 1. And there's my equation of my line. I'll do 39 and 40, and then we'll be done. So if I look at 39, I'm through the point 1, 2, and I want parallel to y equals 3x minus 5. What are they telling me the slope is that I should use? If they tell me they want it parallel to 3x minus 5.
3/1.
3/1, perfect. So I'm going to say, okay, well they gave me this x and this y, so I can find the b. So I have y equals mx plus b. 2 equals, my slope is 3 times 1 plus b. 2 equals 3 plus b, minus 3 from both sides. So my y-intercept is -1. So your equation of this line would be y equals 3x minus 1. And you can look and see, are these two parallel? How can you look at them and say that they're both parallel to each other?
They have the same slope.
Thank you, ma'am. Perfect. All right, let's do 40. I have the point -3, 2, and I have a line that they gave me that says -1/2. Why did I write that? Y equals -1/2 x plus 7. I want a line perpendicular. So what's the slope going to be if I want a perpendicular line?
Opposite and reciprocal.
Perfect. So it's going to be 2/1. Good. So y equals mx plus b. I got to find the b. So this is the x to use. This is the y. So I have 2 equals 2 times -3 plus b. 2 equals -6 plus b. Add 6 to both sides. So b equals 8. So when we write our equation of our line, it's y equals 2x plus 8. And when you compare them, are those two slopes opposite reciprocals of each other?
Yes.
Yes, they are. All right, ladies and gents, that's it for our parallel perpendicular. So on our quiz on Tuesday, we're going to have stuff from 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. If I were you over the weekend, I'd watch the videos. Come to class on Monday with questions. Questions from your web assign, questions from, you can go on your book. It's on your web assign. You guys can access your book if you have any questions, and I'll go over some practice ones. We're going to practice and I'll answer questions on Monday, and then your quiz is going to be on Tuesday.